Hello and welcome. In this video, which is part of the video documentation, I'm going to talk about how you can set up a Vk3DVision to run it with a new game. So this doesn't apply, for example, if you downloaded one of my fixes or a stereo fix. You don't need to follow this tutorial. This is mostly intended for people who actually want to start developing a new fix or use a Vk3DVision with a new game. So yeah, this is section 1, which I'm going to show how you can quickly set up Vk3DVision, what are the steps that you need to follow, and how you can inject stereo in the game. So obviously you'll go to my website and then on Vk3DVision, and you'll be able to download a version from here. Currently I haven't released anything because I'm doing this video for the purpose of releasing the first version, but all the versions will be here. So yes, so let's say we actually downloaded one and we have it here. And for this video I'm actually going to use Doom Eternal, so I have absolutely nothing. It's the normal game, the base game. One thing that I'm going to do for the simplicity of this video is launch it in window mode. As you can see, it starts. This is the regular Vulkan game, and yeah, let's exit. So the first thing, after you download the zip or RAR file and you extract Vk3DVision, you'll notice that will be two files. One is the exe and one is the ini file or ini file. So before we do anything, we just start Vk3DVision.exe, and this actually installs the Vulkan layer, which means that now every single application that every single Vulkan application on your PC will actually connect to Vk3DVision. So I'm also using 3DVision Automatic, NVIDIA 3DVision Discover, because this is not on a 3D monitor and it works in window mode. So right, so you start Vk3DVision. And the first thing, before you copy the ini file or you do anything else, just start the game again. And if everything's fine, you will not get a crash. You will see the overlay, and yeah, you should get something working. If it crashes, then Vk3DVision is currently not compatible with the game. But in this case, as you can see, you see the version there. It started, you see the overlay, my overlay, and if you press F10, you actually see the ini file, which is blank because we didn't copy it, and the log. And the log contains some interesting information. For example, error parsing Vk3DVision ini file because it's not there. We cannot save the profile, which is the Vk3DVision profile value found and it's already set, and cannot save the profile. Normally you need to run the game. Let me just put you on mute. Normally you need to run the application or the game as administrator. If that fails, well, you can always run I don't have it here, NVIDIA inspector, and add the stereo flag to the profile, which is something that I've actually done. Let's see, NVIDIA inspector. If I run this, you can actually see it. So this is the flag that you normally need when you're running 3DVision in window mode and anaglyph. Otherwise, in full screen, it doesn't really matter. But just to show for reference that I have it set somewhere around here. No, I don't think that's the one. It's the other one. This is I use the old, very old NVIDIA. No, I'm sorry for this. I want the profile decode. I want this one. So the flag that I'm talking about is not even here. Am I looking wrong? No, sorry, it's this one, stereo profile, yes. So yeah, otherwise in 3DVision Discover in window mode it will not engage. So I did this manually. However, if you don't want to do this manually, you need to start the game as administrator. So as you can see, Vk3DVision works with the game. Obviously, yeah, as you can see, there is no 3D, but yeah. So error parsing, Vk3DVision line cannot set the profile, cannot update the existing profile, but we already found the value and it's already set. That's the value, and then it gives us an error: existing uniform binding found on layout 0, binding 99. And that's good to remember, because now we are going to copy the ini file and we are going to start the game again. So first we see that Vk3DVision works with the game out of the box without any tweaking, and the default values are actually fine, and it works. So now what we are going to do is actually start trying to, or injecting stereo. So the first thing, before we touch the development mode, before we even say stereo equals true, this is the uniform binding 99 that the log says it's already in use. And I actually put a lot of comments. Warning, this needs to be adjusted per game app if a clash is detected. Not adjusting, which I spelled with W, not adjusting them correctly will crash the Vulkan driver and your PC. So this is very important. Keep it as low as possible to avoid wasting memory and severely degrade performance. So basically NVIDIA 3DVision Automatic does the same thing by using those texture slots. I can't remember, I think it's 200 and 201, but because they go so far, they're actually wasting a lot of memory there. So you could kind of translate it the same. So what we want is to print. Let's see, and let's print all of them. I'm going to save this, and obviously we need to restart the game. Okay, so you always want to keep that value as low as possible. And if you get a clash, well, basically you're trying to send data from the CPU to the GPU on a slot that is already in use, and the shader will crash and your driver will crash and everything will crash. So now if I go to log, you see it starts dumping all the existing layout binding. So it's 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9. We go and we find, yeah, 99. As you can see, it's there, and we go and we find the last one, which is 291. So apparently 291 is the last one. So we can filter by binding 291, 292. There is no 292, it's only 291. So 291 kind of looks to be the last one. So it is interesting. Okay, so let's actually start the game and see, maybe once we actually start playing the game, if something changes. Oh, it looks like it's 291. I don't see a 292. Do we see maybe 290? 290 is there. 283, 84, 85, 86, 80, 80. Yeah, all of them. So 290, 291, 292. So apparently 292 is fine. Come on. So what happens if I actually play the game a little bit? Do I get new shader? Do I get new layout bindings, or do I use the same one? It seems like 292 is, or 291 is where it stops, so we can safely use 292. So I'm going back to Vk3DVision and I say I want layout binding 292. 2. Going to save. So now that we have no clash and we are sending the data from the CPU to the GPU to be used by the shaders, which contains your separation, your convergence, and other parameters. So now that we can send it safely without clashing with anything, we are ready to proceed and to actually start injecting stereo. So we don't want to print anything, so I'm going to put that one on false, and I can go and say I want stereo. I want to enable stereo, and I want to say, right, before I do that, I'm actually going to comment these lines and we'll get back to it. So now we are going to inject stereo, and we are going to see how we need to inject it. The reason I commented the lines was because I want to see exactly where to inject, rather than, so I want to put development mode true. I forgot about this. And now we have VSync, we have stereo, we have our uniform layout binding slot, everything is fine. So let's start again. And the game loads. And I'm going to disable it. And now we have the active pipeline shaders. You see, this is basically the shader manager, which I'm not going to go into a lot of depth now. It will be in the next video, but we need it to actually be able to see the shaders. So I'm going to inject stereo. You normally need to target only the vertex shaders, so I'm only going to target the vertex shaders. So this is a shader, this is another shader, and another shader, and a lot of other shaders. So what we need is to actually open one and take a look, and then I also actually need this one. So the shader starts there with version, and then we have a layout on set 1 binding 0, set 0 binding 0, set. So these are all the uniform buffers that the game normally uses, and if you clash with one of these, obviously you're corrupting everything and you get a crash. So that's what we don't want. But we also want to add our own uniform buffer. So for example, if I go here and I would say I want my uniform buffer to be inserted in all the shaders after or before or after this line. After I find layout set, so if the moment I find layout set, which is like this one, I'm going to insert our uniform buffers. Okay. So now, if I'm going to search for GL position is one of the predefined variables in GLSL, and the moment we decompile it, we will always get the output of the vertex shader as GL position. So I have a GL position.x, and then .y, .z, and .w, and then here is doing some other stuff. So obviously, let's see where we can inject some more other stuff, and then the last one is actually GL position.y equals minus GL position.y. This is flipping on the vertical, the whole image. So that's the last thing in the shader. How about let's pick this shader. This one again has the last thing, GL position y equals that one. How about, is that the same? Yeah. How about this shader? So again, GL position. So this looks like a nice spot to inject at the end. We're going to say, and we are going to say, I want to find this line, which I'm going to copy and say paste, right? And then I want to inject our regular expression, which is the position on the x. It's we add to the position on x axis the separation, which is plus minus minus for the left eye, plus for the right eye, multiplied by the clip space depth, and the convergence minus the convergence, right? This is the standard formula. I'm not going to go too much into it and why it works. There are lots of papers and the NVIDIA paper on this which explains better. So we inject our uniform. This is what we want to find, and after we find that line, we are going to add our formula. We want to actually insert, we don't want to replace this line with this line, and this is, we are only targeting vertices, okay? We don't want fragments or computes because we support both fragments and computes. And params, I don't want to send anything, and the shortcut keys are fine, and all that thing is fine. So stereo true, development mode true, exclusive full screen I don't need right now. And now that this is done, I can actually quit the game and start it, and it should be in stereo. It will be broken in stereo because we are targeting everything, but yeah. And did I forget to enable anything? Maybe I did, because it's not missing stereo true. And I don't know why it's not working. Oh yes, I know why it's not working, because I forgot to say. So basically this is in mono. We're still going in mono mode, so we want to say 3DVision, because we're going to use 3DVision. You can use side by side or top under or VR. So I want to say 3DVision. I completely forgot about that, and we're going to restart again. And now we should see it in stereo. And there you have it. Now you can see it's in stereo, everything, including the UI and everything. And yeah, you get some nasty flickering and some other weird things, but as you can see, I can increase the separation. You can also see it here in the on my UI, which is 100. I can decrease the separation, I can increase the convergence, which makes the UI flat at 1. See, so now you can either go, I'm going to disable that. You can either go and say here, you can modify this one to say, if geoposition.w is 1, then modify the formula to do something else or whatever. So one thing, the injection point and the stereo string, this is plain text, right? That's why it's completely plain text. There is no regex support or regular expression and all that stuff. I did look into it and adding it, but based on all my testing, the performance wasn't great. So yeah, maybe I will do it in the future, but not now. So yeah, I hope this video helps, and this is basically how to add stuff. The most important thing, like I said, is before you start doing anything, you make sure that a Vk3DVision works with your game without touching any of the config stuff. If that works, then you're good to go. If it doesn't work, you'll probably get a crash dump. You can send it to me and I'll take a look. So I only tested it with a couple of games, so I wasn't able to test with everything out there, obviously. And then the most important thing is to actually enable the layout binding printing and check the log to see if you get a clash and what is the last layout binding the game uses, and then add our layout bind count or slot after it. So don't go insanely like 1299 or stuff like that, because it always works. I actually put a very nice link here from Kronos where they explain how the layout descriptor sets work and why this number needs to be as low as possible, so you don't waste a lot of memory. And yeah, so once that's done, you can restart and see that you get no crash. Enable development mode, you go and you see your shaders and you see where you should inject and how you should inject and all that stuff, right? And once you do that, you write how you want to inject it, the operations and what type. And don't forget, like me, to actually say that I want to render something else than mono and restart the game, and you should be exactly on the same spot that I am now, right? I hope this works, and see you in the next one, where we're going to talk about other stuff and mostly how we can correctly stereoize the game. So yeah, thank you and see you later. Cheers.